A well-known missionary passage in the Bible is Matthew 9, verses 36 through 38. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Then saith he unto his disciples, The harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. However, as we read this, we often fail to read the first verse of this paragraph, in which Christ demonstrates his pattern for ministry. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. Christ preached, taught, and cared for physical needs. And it is precisely at this intersection of ministry in which we see the compassionate Christ calling for laborers to join him. Over 20 years ago, the leadership of Adelphos recognized this pattern and started to include caring ministries to make their work more Christ-like, more effective. It all started with one heart, two suitcases, a ministry in which each person going to an Adelphos field on a short-term trip was encouraged to take two suitcases, one packed with personal effects and one packed with needed clothes and supplies for the people on the field. And God has used that ministry mightily, especially in Cuba, Peru, and Liberia. Other humanitarian works include helping to purchase and build a farm in Cuba to help support the national pastors and missionaries. We are also right now gathering treadle-type sewing machines to help widows in Liberia support themselves in their desperate economic condition. And our caring ministries include disaster relief. When natural disaster strikes, people are often at their most vulnerable and are most open to spiritual help. They are searching for hope in the middle of the tragedy that has fallen upon them. And yes, preaching the gospel is our first priority. But like Christ in Matthew 9, we must also reach out with caring and healing ministries. And we do. For instance, in 2010, when a mine collapsed in the north of Chile, trapping 33 miners, Adelphos was the first humanitarian group on the scene, offering physical and spiritual sustenance to the families of the miners. They also passed New Testaments and other materials down the communication tube to encourage the miners as they awaited rescue. Several people accepted Christ as a result, and the Adelphos president, Patricio Oliva, even had the opportunity to share a message of hope on the worldwide CNN in Espanol. Chile also suffers from frequent volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, and forest fires. And Adelphos is always there helping with food, temporary housing, clearing of wreckage, building of new houses, and other social services, as well as with evangelism and spiritual care. We have ministered to thousands through our outreach, Fuerza, or Be Strong, Chile. We praise the Lord for the hundreds that have come to know the Lord and the several churches that have been founded or strengthened as a result of our disaster relief work. For instance, in the 2017 forest fire in Constitucion, over 1,000 square miles burned, and over 4,000 families were displaced. We were able to help with over 400 of those families in both humanitarian and spiritual work. Over 60 people came to know the Lord, and 2 area churches were strengthened by that mission. And God worked as well in the hearts of those who gave and who served, calling some of them to the mission field. And when Hurricane Irma devastated the eastern half of Cuba, we were able to help rebuild our farm and help reconstruct several homes and church buildings. But we would like to be even more effective in disaster relief ministry by having reserve funds available, ready for immediate use, rather than having to depend on raising funds after a disaster happens, a process that can take days or weeks. This is the purpose of A Hope. Your tax-deductible donation to A Hope will mean that there are funds ready to go so that help can begin immediately. Adelphos can be on the scene right away, ministering when the need for hope is the greatest and the impact of the gospel can be most effective. Will you help us give hope? But what about a future? Teaching is also a vital part of a Christ-like ministry that we find in Matthew chapter 9. Our Chilean leadership has given our Adelphos-USA director the specific task of traveling to various fields to teach and encourage, as well as help them develop culturally appropriate theological training. That is to say, one of Sean's main ministries is to help Adelphos invest in the future leadership that God is raising up, especially in the fields where we support national missionaries who, for various reasons, don't have access to Bible college, correspondence courses, or online learning. In 2018 alone, Sean has the opportunity to teach in the Amazon region of Peru and Colombia, as well as Cuba, Paraguay, and in the south of Chile with the indigenous peoples, the Mapuche. Trips to Mexico, Liberia, and the Philippines are already among those projected in 2019. All of these trips take money, which is above and beyond his current support level. Would you consider giving a tax-deductible gift to a future? Helping Sean and other Adelphos directors in their travels for leadership development and ministerial training? Yes, we are going into all the world and preaching the gospel to every creature. Evangelism and church planting are vital components of any missionary outreach. But remember, Christ has left us a pattern in Matthew 9:35 to also teach sound doctrine, giving a future to established churches, as well as to provide caring ministries, reaching out with hope for those in desperate need. Thank you for your prayers and gifts to a hope and a future.